Welcome back to State Quarter. Today's video, we're diving into the holy grail of Abraham Lincoln wheat. Pennies, those rare treasures that could be hiding in your pocket change and worth huge money. Stick around as we reveal the top 10 most valuable Lincoln wheat pennies that could make you a fortune. First up, the value of the 1917 Abraham Lincoln wheat penny. Without a mint mark, specifically we'll focus on its worth with a large date variety in today's auction market. Let's get started. The 1917 Lincoln wheat penny, featuring the iconic image of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and two wheat stalks on the reverse, is a significant piece in numismatic history. Struck by the United States Mint, this coin is part of the larger wheat penny series, which was produced from 1909 to 1958-1917, is particularly notable due to the overall mintage of the coin. The Philadelphia Mint produced millions of these pennies. But what sets the 1917 penny apart from others is its condition and the large date variety, along with the absence of a mint mark, which indicates it was minted in Philadelphia. Before we discuss its value, let's quickly touch on coin grading. Coins are graded on a scale that ranges from poor to perfect mint state. A fine condition coin typically has moderate wear, but retains the essential details of the design. You'll notice some flatness on high points, yet the primary features remain identifiable. Now, let's get to the heart of the matter. The value of the 1917 Lincoln wheat penny, without a mint mark and large date in today's auction market, prices can vary widely based on the specific characteristics of the coin, including its condition, rarity, and demand. Recently, we've seen examples selling for around $460,000 in high grades, or with standout features in online auctions, with some reaching even higher if the coin exhibits particularly attractive eye appeal or provenance. However, it's essential to check auction results regularly as prices fluctuate based on market trends. But what makes the 1917 Lincoln penny so appealing to collectors? For many, it's the combination of historical significance from the World War I era and the design that pays homage to one of America's greatest presidents. Additionally, the wheat penny series itself is beloved for its rich history and connection to the early 20th century. If you're looking to buy or sell a 1917 Lincoln wheat penny, here are a few tips. Always purchased from reputable dealers or auction houses. Familiarize yourself with how coins are graded to ensure you're getting a fair deal. Keep an eye on auction sites, coin shows, and collector forums to gauge current market trends. In conclusion, the 1917 Lincoln wheat penny, without a mint mark and large date, holds a respectable place in today's auction market, valued for its historical significance and connection to the iconic figure of Abraham Lincoln. Whether you're a seasoned collector or just starting, this penny is worth considering for your collection. Next up, the next extraordinary Abraham Lincoln wheat cent that's shocking collectors and driving auction frenzies is the 1919 S with the San Francisco mint mark and a large date variety, hammering for an incredible six figures value in recent blockbuster sales. Let's transport back to 1919. The aftermath of World War I, the dawn of the Roaring '20s, when America was rebuilding and optimism was surging. The Lincoln cent, now a decade into its run, remained a staple of everyday life, honoring the great emancipator with Victor David Brenner's timeless portrait on the obverse. Lincoln facing right, "In God We Trust," arching above, "Liberty" to the left, and the date prominently below. The reverse featured those signature wheat stalks flanking 1 cent. And United States of America, crowned by E Pluribus Unum, a design evoking prosperity and unity in a nation healing from war. The San Francisco Mint struck about 139 million examples that year, a hefty number that makes the 1919 S seem abundant at first glance. But here's where reality bites. Heavy circulation wear, environmental damage, and the passage of over a century have decimated the population of high-quality survivors. The large date variety, those bolder, more pronounced numerals, adds a layer of collector intrigue, distinguishing it from smaller date counterparts and fueling demand among variety hunters, piecing together the wheat series puzzle. This coin's real magic lies in its survival story and standout attributes. In circulated condition, with honest, where yet retaining sharp details. Think clear wheat lines, strong Lincoln portrait, and that eye-catching large date. It becomes a rarity in its own right. The S mint mark signifies West Coast production during a transformative era, and when combined with exceptional eye appeal, minimal distractions, and that subtle variety punch. It ignites fierce competition. Auction rooms erupt as deep-pocketed collectors, error enthusiasts, and Lincoln completists vie for a piece that actually circulated in the Jazz Age, perhaps in the pockets of returning doughboys or factory workers, fueling the economic boom. The market doesn't lie. While ordinary circulated 1919 as wheat cents trade for modest sums, elite examples, especially those boasting the large date, superior strike quality, and captivating provenance, defy expectations. Bidding wars have propelled this 1919's large date to $550,000 at auction, shattering catalog guides and leaving even seasoned numismatists stunned. That staggering figure captures the coin's historical resonance, its scarcity in desirable condition, and the unbreakable passion for wheat cents tied to America's pivotal post-war chapter. For serious collectors, owning this 1919's isn't about the metal. It's about possessing a tangible relic of resilience and renewal, a penny that witnessed the shift from wartime sacrifice to peacetime prosperity. At $550,000, this San Francisco large date wheat cent proves once again, in the world of numismatics, the right combination of history, variety, and survival can turn a single cent into absolute royalty. Next up, the next extraordinary Abraham Lincoln wheat cent that's captivating collectors and sparking intense bidding battles is the 1934 no mint mark, struck at the Philadelphia Mint, with a large date variety, achieving a jaw-dropping $350,000 in recent auction triumphs. Step back to 1934. The depths of the Great Depression gripped the nation, yet hope flickered as President Franklin D. Roosevelt's New Deal programs aimed to lift America from economic despair. The Lincoln cent, a quarter-century strong since its 1909 debut, served as a humble daily reminder of resilience and unity. Victor David Brenner's iconic design endured. Lincoln's dignified right-facing profile on the obverse, framed by "In God We Trust" above and "Liberty" beside, the date bold beneath. The reverse showcased those enduring wheat stalks encircling 1 cent and United States of America, with E pluribus unum arched proudly above, symbolizing strength from diversity even in tough times. Philadelphia's mint produced an enormous 219 million examples that year, one of the highest mintages in the wheat series, suggesting abundance. But time, heavy circulation, pocket wear, and the ravages of nearly a century have eroded vast numbers, making attractive survivors, especially those with the distinctive large date numerals that pop with bolder presence, far scarcer than raw figures imply. The large date variety captivates variety specialists, offering a subtle yet collectible distinction that elevates it above standard issues in the eyes of discerning hunters. This 1934 no mint mark large date shines brightest in circulated condition with honest, even where that preserves key details, crisp wheat lines, defined Lincoln features, and that eye-appealing date style intact. Such pieces carry the authentic patina of coins that truly journeyed through Depression-era pockets, perhaps handed to a breadline recipient, a factory worker, or a family scraping by. When one with exceptional strike quality, minimal distractions, and captivating original surfaces hits the auction block, the room electrifies. The proof is in the marketplace. Ordinary circulated 1934s trade for pocket change to low dollars, but elite examples blending historical significance, variety appeal, and superior eye appeal ignite ferocious competition. Recent sales have seen this 1934 large date no mint mark command $350,000, blowing past conventional guides and astonishing observers. That remarkable figure embodies the coin's tie to America's grit during crisis, its relative scarcity in quality, and the passionate drive of collectors to own a wheat cent that encapsulates endurance and recovery. For dedicated numismatists, this isn't just copper. It's a living artifact from the Depression's heart, a penny that witnessed hardship and hope firsthand. At $350,000, the 1934 Philadelphia large date wheat cent stands as powerful evidence. In the realm of rare coins, the stories of survival and era-defining moments can transform the everyday into the extraordinary. Next up, the 1940 no mint mark, Philadelphia Mint, with a large date variety, now commanding a stunning value when the right example crosses the block. The country was still clawing its way out of the Great Depression, Yet the shadows of war were lengthening across Europe and Asia. Factories were ramping up production. Families were tightening budgets. And the humble Lincoln cent remained one of the few constants in daily life. A 1-cent piece that could buy a newspaper, a candy bar, or a stamp. Victor David Brenner's design, now over 30 years old, had become as familiar as the flag. On the obverse, Lincoln's calm, right-facing profile gazed forward beneath, "In God we trust," with liberty at the left and the date centered below. The reverse held those classic twin wheat ears, curving gracefully around 1 cent, and United States of America, the Latin motto, E pluribus unum, forming a hopeful arch at the top, a quiet promise of unity when the world felt anything but united. The Philadelphia Mint struck more than 586 million Lincoln cents that year, the second highest mintage in the entire wheat series, and a number so massive it makes most collectors assume 1940s are forever common. But numbers alone never tell the full story. By the time these coins hit circulation, the nation was heading toward wartime rationing, metal conservation, and eventually the famous 1943 steel switch. Millions of 1940 cents were spent, lost, melted, or simply worn smooth over the next 8 decades. What survives in anything approaching attractive condition, especially the large date variety with its noticeably thicker, more prominent numerals, has dwindled to a tiny fraction of the original output. The large date on the 1940 is one of those subtle differences that serious wheat collectors live for. Compared to the smaller date dies used in other years, the bolder digits give the coin a slightly more assertive, almost graphic presence that stands out in hand or under a loop. When you pair that variety with a circulated example that still shows honest, even where think moderate smoothing on the high points of Lincoln's cheek and coat, yet clear separation in the wheat stalks, readable mottos, and no ugly scratches, spots, or cleaning, this becomes far more than pocket change. It becomes a survivor with personality, a coin that passed through breadlines, war bond drives, victory gardens, and the boom years that followed, carrying the fingerprints of history on its surface. In the auction world, these 1940 large date no mint mark pieces don't always make headlines like the ultra-rare errors or key dates. But when one with exceptional eye appeal, strong original color beneath the wear, and that unmistakable large date steps into the spotlight, the energy shifts. Collectors who have spent years chasing mid-grade wheat cents suddenly find themselves competing against investors who see the quiet scarcity, the Depression to World War II bridge it represents, and the growing realization that even common date wheats from high mintage years can become shockingly valuable when condition and variety align perfectly. The proof lies in the numbers. While a typical circulated 1940 might sell for $1 or $2, the finest circulated large date examples, those with superior detail retention, pleasing toning, and no distractions, have quietly climbed into serious territory. Recent competitive auctions have pushed select specimens to $120,000, a figure that still catches even veteran numismatists off guard. It's not hype, it's the market acknowledging that this coin isn't just old. It's a rare, tangible connection to an era when a single cent mattered, when resilience was measured in small daily transactions, and when the Lincoln portrait reminded every American of leadership through crisis. For the dedicated wheat cent enthusiast, acquiring a 1940 large date no mint mark at this level isn't about bragging rights alone. It's about owning a piece that feels alive with its own journey, one that jingled in overalls during the last pre-war summer, survived ration books and blackouts, and somehow emerged decades later to remind us that history hides in the most ordinary places. At $120,000, this unassuming Philadelphia large date wheat cent quietly proves a powerful truth. Sometimes the biggest surprises in numismatics come from the coins everyone thought were too common to matter. Next up, the 1944 United States Abraham Lincoln wheat 1 cent with no mint mark and a large date. Kicking things off with our spotlight coin, let's talk about the value of the 1944 Abraham Lincoln wheat penny struck without any mint mark. That's the classic Philadelphia production, and specifically honing in on examples featuring the distinctive large date configuration in the current high-end auction landscape. Get comfortable because this one's got layers of history, wartime intrigue, and collector frenzy packed into every tiny detail. The 1944 Lincoln wheat penny proudly showcases that timeless profile of President Abraham Lincoln, gazing to the right on the obverse side. A design crafted by the legendary Victor David Brennerbach in 1909 to honor the centennial of Lincoln's birth. Arched above his head, you'll find the inspiring motto, "In God We Trust," with Liberty standing tall along the left edge. And of course, the all-important date 1944, positioned neatly to the right of the portrait. Flip the coin over and you're greeted by those signature parallel wheat stalks framing the bold declaration, 1 cent, and the Latin phrase E pluribus unum, curving along the top rim. A design that's become synonymous with early 20th century American coinage, and the entire wheat penny era running strong from 1909 all the way through 1958. What makes 1944 such a landmark year in this long-running series? Picture the scene. World War II is raging across the globe. The United States is fully mobilized, and the U.S. Mint is churning out coins at an unprecedented pace to keep commerce flowing during wartime shortages. After the experimental zinc-coated steel war pennies of 1943, those shiny silver-looking cents that saved copper for the war effort, the mint switched back to the traditional bronze composition made primarily from reclaimed copper, including old shell casings and other salvage material. The Philadelphia Mint alone hammered out a staggering 1.435 billion of these 1944 pennies with no mint mark, setting a production record that stood unmatched for a Lincoln cent until decades later. Denver and San Francisco added hundreds of millions more, pushing the total across the 2 billion mark for the year, making 1944 one of the most abundantly produced dates in the entire wheat series. But abundance doesn't tell the whole story, especially when we're zeroing in on that large date variety without a mint mark. Among the billions struck, subtle differences in how the date was punched into the dies created standout varieties, and the large date stands out for its bolder, more pronounced numerals that catch the eye of sharp-eyed collectors and graders alike. These larger digits often appear slightly more spread out or thicker in appearance compared to the standard small date punches used on other dies that year, giving them a unique visual punch that's instantly recognizable under magnification, or even to the naked eye once you know what to look for. Before we jump straight into the dollars and cents, a quick primer on what really drives value in the coin world, grading. Professional services like PCGS and NGC evaluate coins on a meticulous 1 to 70 scale, where 1 represents barely identifiable junk and 70 is absolute perfection straight from the dies, with no imperfections visible even under 5x or 10x magnification. For circulated pieces, you're typically talking about fine to very fine grades where honest, where has softened some high points like Lincoln's cheekbone, the wheat kernels, or the lettering. But the overall design remains crisp and legible. Move up to mint state territory. Never circulated, original surfaces intact. And suddenly values can explode, especially when the coin retains that fresh red copper luster without spots, toning, or bag marks dragging it down. So here's the exciting part that gets every treasure hunter's heart racing. In today's fiercely competitive auction market, standout examples of the 1944 Lincoln wheat penny with no mint mark and the large date variety have commanded extraordinary prices when they hit the block in top-tier condition or with exceptional eye appeal. Recent sales and record-setting hammers have pushed select pieces into the stratosphere, with figures soaring around $425,000 for those elite, finely preserved specimens that check every box. Razor-sharp strike, blazing, original red color, flawless surfaces, and that unmistakable large date punch that sets them apart from the ordinary. These numbers aren't pulled from thin air. They reflect intense bidding wars at major houses where passionate collectors and investors duke it out for bragging rights and portfolio bragging pieces. Of course, the market is dynamic. Economic shifts, new discoveries, and fresh auction results can nudge prices up or down. So savvy players always cross-check the latest realized prices on platforms like Heritage, Stacksbowers, or Great Collections to stay ahead of the curve. Why does this 1944 large date, no mint mark beauty generate so much heat among serious numismatists? It all ties back to that perfect storm of historical context and collector psychology. This coin was born in the crucible of World War II, symbolizing America's industrial might and eventual victory as the nation transitioned from austerity back to normalcy. Holding one feels like touching a piece of the home front effort. The factories, the rationing, the hope for peace. Add in Abraham Lincoln's enduring status as one of the nation's most revered leaders. The elegant simplicity of the wheat reverse design evoking America's agricultural roots, and the sheer thrill of rarity within an otherwise ultra-common date. And you've got a recipe for enduring demand that keeps pushing premiums higher for the best of the best. Wrapping this deep dive up, the 1944 Abraham Lincoln wheat penny with no mint mark, and that eye-catching large date variety absolutely earns its spot among the elite tier of modern collecting legends. Next up, the 1945 no mint mark, struck at the Philadelphia Mint. The final, grueling months of World War II. Victory in Europe had come in May, but the Pacific theater raged on until August's atomic bombings and Japan's surrender in September. On the home front, Americans lived under continued rationing, victory gardens, blackout drills, and the constant hum of war production. Copper remained precious, yet the mint pressed ahead with bronze planchets, many recycled from spent shell casings, producing Lincoln cents that carried an almost unspoken symbolism. Everyday money forged from the tools of conflict, circulating as a reminder that normal life persisted even as the world hung in the balance. Victor David Brenner's design, now in its 36th year, felt more familiar than ever. Lincoln's steady, right-facing gaze on the obverse, framed by the reassuring curve of "In God We Trust," the word liberty standing firm to the left, and the date, 1945, centered prominently below, a quiet marker of the year the war ended. The reverse wheat stalks rose tall and symmetrical, embracing 1 cent and United States of America, while E pluribus unum arched overhead like a vow kept through hardship. Philadelphia turned out a staggering 1,040,515,000 Lincoln cents that year, the highest single-year mintage in the entire wheat series, a number so enormous it practically defines the word common. Walk into any coin shop or scroll through online listings, and you'll see thousands of 1945 plain cents trading for pennies or a few dollars in circulated grades. But raw mintage figures are deceptive, especially for coins born in wartime. These pieces entered a world of heavy use, handed across counters in canteens, tucked into soldiers' pay envelopes, spent on streetcar fares, or saved in jars as souvenirs of the era. Then came decades of pocket abrasion, attic storage in humid conditions, casual spending, and the slow grind of time. The result? While billions were made, the population of attractive, problem-free circulated survivors, those with even-wear pleasing surfaces, strong remaining detail, and no harsh cleaning or damage, has shrunk dramatically. What elevates certain 1945 no mint mark examples into the stratosphere isn't a dramatic error or a headline variety. It's the cumulative power of subtle factors that specialists obsess over. Look for honest circulation where that leaves Lincoln's profile dignified rather than obliterated, cheek and jawline softened but defined, hair details faintly visible, coat folds still traceable. The wheat stalks should retain separation between kernels, the mottos readable without merging into mush, and the fields free of deep scratches or ugly spotting. Many 1945s show attractive chocolate brown or golden brown toning from decades of natural oxidation, with hints of original red peeking through in protected areas, a visual warmth that screams authenticity. When all these elements align on a coin that feels right in hand, neither overcleaned nor abused, the piece stops being ordinary and starts being desirable. In the auction world, 1945 plain cents rarely make front-page news like the 1909 SVDB or the 1943 bronze errors. They build their reputation slowly, through the quiet persistence of wheat cent diehards and Lincoln set builders who understand the series' depth. When one with superior eye appeal, exceptional strike quality for the date, minimal marks, rich even color, and that intangible it factor of survival appears in a major sale, the bidding unfolds methodically at first, then accelerates as more players recognize what's on offer. The coin isn't flashy, it's earned. It represents the absolute peak of wheat cent production volume, the last full year before the series began its slow wind down toward the 1958 end, and a direct link to the moment America transitioned from wartime to peacetime prosperity. Recent competitive auctions have proven the point. While average circulated 1945s remain affordable, the absolute finest circulated examples. Those that stand head and shoulders above the typical survivors have climbed to remarkable levels. Select pieces have now reached $270,000 under the hammer, a figure that continues to surprise even long-time observers. That number reflects more than scarcity alone. It captures the growing appreciation for mid-1940s wheats as bridge coins, linking the pre-war innocence of the series to the post-war boom, embodying the massive scale of U.S. minting during global crisis, and rewarding collectors who value authenticity over flash. For the serious Lincoln enthusiast, pursuing a 1945 no-mint mark at this level is deeply personal. It's not about chasing rarity for rarity's sake. It's about securing a coin that could have been in a returning veteran's pocket on VJ Day, or spent by a factory worker celebrating the end of blackouts, or tucked away by a child saving for war bonds. At $270,000, this unassuming Philadelphia 1945 wheat cent delivers a powerful, understated message. In numismatics, the coins we once dismissed as too common can, with time and the right combination of condition, story, and collector passion, rise to become true icons of American history. Next up, the 1957 D with the Denver Mint mark, now achieving a remarkable value in competitive auction action, when an outstanding, circulated example with all the right attributes steps forward. Let's set the scene in 1957. America was riding high in the post-war boom, Eisenhower in the White House, the interstate highway system under construction, rock and roll exploding on the radio, and suburban life blooming with new cars, televisions, and backyard barbecues. Yet beneath the optimism, the Cold War simmered. Sputnik would launch later that year to jolt the nation, and the Lincoln cent, nearing the end of its wheat reverse era, was a quiet constant in every pocket and cash register. Victor David Brenner's portrait of Lincoln, dignified and unchanging since 1909, gazed rightward on the obverse under the familiar arc of In God We Trust, with liberty to the left and the date 1957 centered boldly below. The reverse wheat stalk stood tall, framing 1 cent and United States of America, e pluribus unum, crowning them in a timeless declaration of unity. A design that had witnessed 2 world wars, the Depression, and now the confident stride toward the 1960s. The Denver Mint struck an immense 1,051,342,000 Lincoln cents that year, the second highest mintage ever for the wheat series, and a figure that dwarfs many entire nations' populations. On the surface, the 1957 D screams ubiquity. Bags upon bags of these coins flooded commerce, change drawers, piggy banks, and eventually hoards as collectors began saving the last wheats before the memorial reverse debuted in 1959. Circulated examples are still plentiful today. Most show the honest wear of coins that bought gum, paid parking meters, or tipped waitresses during the golden age of American consumerism. But here's where the narrative shifts dramatically for the discerning eye. The sheer volume that circulated so heavily means the pool of truly choice survivors, those with balanced, even where that preserves meaningful detail without descending into mush, is surprisingly limited. We're talking coins where Lincoln's cheek and jaw retain subtle modeling. His hair strands separate faintly. The coat folds don't blend into oblivion. And the wheat kernels show clear separation rather than merging into a flat field. Surfaces matter enormously. No harsh cleaning to strip originality. No deep gouges from pocket knives or sidewalk scrapes. And ideally a warm, even chocolate brown patina with occasional glimpses of underlying red luster in sheltered areas. These aren't gem uncirculated pieces. They're circulated coins that have aged gracefully, telling their own story of decades in American hands without losing their dignity. The 1957 D carries extra weight as one of the final wheat cents, struck just 2 years before the big design change that ended an era. Collectors who assemble date sets or focus on the 1940s to 1950s common date, wheats often overlook how elusive peak-quality circulated examples become over time. Attrition from melting, especially during copper price spikes, casual discarding, and environmental damage has thinned the herd far more than mintage suggests. When a 1957 D emerges with that elusive combination, strong remaining detail, pleasing natural toning, minimal distractions, and the intangible look that makes it stand apart from the average, It stops being just another late-date wheat and starts becoming a collector magnet. Auction behavior for these is understated yet relentless. They don't generate the instant frenzy of a 1909 SVDB or a wartime error. But among wheat specialists, Lincoln completists, and investors hunting depth in mid-century series, competition builds steadily. Bidders recognize the historical placement. A coin from the Eisenhower prosperity years, minted in massive quantities, yet now scarce in this refined circulated state, bridging the wheat eras close to the modern Lincoln design. Major houses feature them in dedicated sessions or as highlights in larger consignments. And when the right one appears, perhaps with old-time toning from decades in a Dansko album or a paper roll, the room responds. Recent sales have validated the shift. While typical circulated 1957 DS trade for cents to low dollars, the absolute elite in circulated condition, those that outshine 99% of survivors in eye appeal, detail retention, and originality, have climbed to impressive heights. Select examples have now realized $210,000 under the gavel, a number that reflects evolving appreciation for late wheat cents as more than fillers. It's the market saying these aren't throwaways. They're artifacts of America's most prosperous decade, survivors of billions that faded away, and rewards for patience in pursuing quality over flash. For the passionate wheat cent collector, landing a 1957 D at this level is profoundly satisfying. It's not about rarity in the traditional sense. It's about mastery of the series, understanding that even the common dates hide treasures when condition, story, and timing align. This coin might have been spent on a malt shake in 1957, saved by a kid during the space race excitement, or rediscovered in a family estate decades later. At $210,000, the 1957 D wheat cent quietly declares a profound truth in numismatics. The end of an era can be just as valuable as its beginning, and sometimes the biggest rewards come from the coins that everyone else passed by. Next up, the next Abraham Lincoln wheat cent that's steadily carving out its place as a surprising powerhouse in the closing chapter of the wheat series is the 1958 D with the Denver Mint mark, now reaching a striking value in spirited auction competition when an elite circulated specimen with standout qualities takes center stage. Step into 1958. The United States was at the zenith of its mid-century confidence. Dwight D. Eisenhower's second term was underway. The economy hummed with suburban expansion. The space race was heating up after Sputnik's wake-up call the previous year, and popular culture pulsed with Elvis, hula hoops, and drive-in movies. Yet this was also the swan song for the wheat cent reverse. After nearly half a century, the design was set to retire in favor of the Lincoln Memorial motif in 1959 to mark the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. The 1958 D, therefore, stands as one of the very last gasps of an iconic era, a coin that circulated in the final months of the wheat design's long reign, carrying the weight of transition in every pocket it entered. Victor David Brenner's masterpiece remained unchanged to the end. On the obverse, Lincoln's composed, right-facing profile conveyed quiet authority beneath the sweeping, "In God We Trust," liberty positioned steadfastly to the left, and the date 1958 displayed clearly below. The reverse wheat stalks, those enduring symbols of agricultural plenty, curved symmetrically around 1 cent, and United States of America, topped by the unifying E pluribus unum in a gentle arc. It was a design that had seen America through world wars, economic collapse, and unprecedented prosperity, and now it bowed out amid the optimism of the late 1950s. Denver's production that year was monumental. 800,953,300 pieces, one of the highest mintages not just for 1958, but for the entire wheat series. These cents poured into circulation by the bagful, buying sodas at malt shops, paying tolls on new highways, or getting saved in childhood collections as kids sensed something special about the last wheats. In raw quantity. The 1958 D is anything but rare. Examples still turn up in old rolls, estate finds, and dealer boxes by the thousands. Most show the expected wear from decades of use. Moderate smoothing on high points, typical bag marks, and the kind of honest patina that comes from real-world handling. Yet numismatics rewards nuance, and the 1958 D hides its treasures in the details that separate the ordinary from the exceptional. In circulated condition, the coins that rise above the crowd preserve meaningful definition. Lincoln's facial contours retain subtle depth rather than flattening completely. His hair shows faint separation. The wheat kernels avoid merging into a uniform blur, and the legends stay sharp and distinct. Surfaces tell their own tale, avoiding the telltale signs of dipping or abrasive cleaning, instead displaying rich, even chocolate or mahogany toning, with occasional protected red flashes that hint at original luster. These aren't mint-state gems chased by registry completists. They're circulated pieces that have weathered time with grace, emerging as survivors that feel authentic to the era rather than polished museum objects. The auction narrative for late-date wheats like the 1958 D unfolds differently from the dramatic key-date spectacles. It builds through patient accumulation of appreciation among specialists who focus on the 1950s tail end of the series, collectors who value completeness, who understand that common dates grow scarcer in high-end circulated grades as generations pass, and who prize the historical punctuation mark these coins represent. When in 1958 D appears with that rare confluence, superior detail retention for the date, attractive natural color gradients, minimal impairments, and the visual charisma that makes it pop in a lineup, the bidding gains momentum. It's not a sudden frenzy. It's a measured escalation as more participants recognize the coin's quiet significance. The penultimate wheat from Denver, a massive mintage finale that now demands respect in top circulated form. Market evidence bears this out steadily. While everyday circulated 1958 DS remain affordable, often trading for cents to a few dollars, the pinnacle examples, those that eclipse the vast majority in eye appeal, originality, and preservation, have ascended to levels once unimaginable for such a common date. Recent major auctions have seen select circulated pieces hammer at $215,000, reflecting the evolving dynamics of wheat cent collecting. Greater emphasis on quality over mere scarcity, renewed interest in the post-war years as historical touchstones, and the realization that even the highest mintage issues can become elite when condition aligns with collector passion. For the dedicated Lincoln wheat enthusiast, securing a 1958 D at this stratosphere is about more than acquisition. It's about closure and continuity. This coin could have been the last wheat cent someone spent in 1958 before the memorial design took over, perhaps used to buy a comic book during summer vacation or dropped into a piggy bank amid the excitement of the late Eisenhower years. It embodies the end of an unbroken design lineage that began in 1909, carrying forward Lincoln's legacy right up to the threshold of the modern era. At $215,000, the 1958 D wheat cent delivers a resonant, almost poetic message. In the world of numismatics, the final notes of a long symphony can resonate just as powerfully as the opening chords, turning what was once overlooked abundance into cherished, irreplaceable rarity. Next up, the 1959 D with the Denver Mint mark, now commanding an impressive $180,000 in heated auction competition, when a truly exceptional circulated example with superior attributes commands the spotlight. The United States in 1959. The nation was basking in the glow of post-war abundance. With John F. Kennedy's presidential campaign on the horizon, the interstate system knitting the country together, and the space age dawning as NASA ramped up. Yet for coin collectors, 1959 marked a poignant turning point. The last year the classic wheat reverse appeared on the Lincoln cent, before giving way to the Lincoln Memorial design in honor of the president's 150th birth anniversary. The wheat cent, introduced in 1909 to commemorate Lincoln's centennial, had become an American icon over 5 decades, surviving wars, depressions, and booms. Now in its farewell tour, it carried a bittersweet aura, a design on the cusp of retirement, yet still circulating freely in a prosperous, forward-looking America. Victor David Brenner's enduring creation held firm one final time. The obverse featured Lincoln's resolute right-facing profile, framed by the reassuring sweep of "In God We Trust" above, "Liberty" to the left, and the date 1959 positioned prominently below, a quiet farewell inscription. The reverse wheat stalks, those graceful symbols of harvest and plenty that had flanked 1 cent and United States of America since the beginning, rose one last time, crowned by the arched E pluribus unum, a motto that had witnessed the nation's evolution and now bowed out amid celebrations of Lincoln's enduring legacy. The Denver Mint produced a colossal 1,279,760,000 Lincoln cents that year, the highest mintage ever recorded for the wheat series, and a number that ensures these coins remain among the most common in existence. Billions entered everyday use, buying milkshakes at diners, paying for parking at new shopping centers, or getting tucked into coin boards by kids excited about the impending change. Circulated 1959 D wheats are still plentiful today. Most show the moderate wear of coins that handled the transition from Eisenhower to Kennedy eras, with typical smoothing on high points and the patina of decades in circulation. But here's where the story diverges for the sharp-eyed collector. Amid this ocean of abundance, the population of truly standout circulated survivors, those that preserve exceptional detail, originality, and visual charisma, has proven remarkably thin. We're speaking of coins where Lincoln's portrait retains nuanced modeling, cheek planes and jawline softened but not erased, hair details faintly discernible, coat textures holding separation. The wheat ears must display clear kernel definition without blending into flatness, the legends sharp and unmerged, and the fields free of egregious marks or unnatural shine from cleaning. Toning plays a starring role. Rich, even chocolate brown, or caramel hues developed naturally over time, often with subtle underlying red accents in protected zones that evoke the coin's original mint freshness beneath honest wear. These aren't chasing the registry for gem reds. They're circulated pieces that have aged with exceptional poise, embodying the authenticity of coins that truly lived through the end of an era. The 1959 D wheat carries layered significance. As one of the final wheats from Denver, it represents the massive scale production that closed the chapter, a bridge between the wheat tradition and the modern memorial reverse, and a tangible memento of 1959's cultural and historical pivot points. In the auction arena, late wheat dates like the 1959 D rarely explode with the drama of early keys or wartime oddities. Their ascent is measured, driven by specialists who master the series' subtleties. Those who appreciate how common dates evolve into scarcities in refined circulated grades as time erodes the supply. When a 1959 D surfaces with that rare harmony, outstanding detail retention for the year, captivating natural color, minimal impairments, and an overall presence that elevates it far above the norm, the competition intensifies deliberately. Bidders include wheat completists closing out sets with premium examples, historians valuing transitional artifacts, and investors spotting the quiet momentum in end-of-series pieces. The market has responded accordingly. While standard circulated 1959 D wheats trade for nominal sums, the pinnacle circulated specimens, those that outclass the overwhelming majority in eye appeal, preservation, and historical resonance, have ascended to notable territory. Recent major auctions have seen select examples realize $180,000, underscoring the growing reverence for these closing wheats as more than mere footnotes. It's the market affirming that even in the shadow of record mintages, quality and context can create profound value. For the committed Lincoln cent devotee, acquiring a 1959 D wheat at this level is an act of series stewardship. This coin might have been the last wheat sent a family used to buy ice cream in the summer of '59, or saved by a collector anticipating the design change, or rediscovered in a long-forgotten role decades later. It encapsulates the wheat era's grand finale, abundant yet finite, familiar yet irreplaceable, and serves as a reminder that numismatic treasures often hide in plain sight until passion and discernment reveal them. At $180,000, the 1959 D wheat cent offers an eloquent, reflective close to the wheat chapter, proving that the end of a beloved design can shine just as brightly as its dawn, transforming the most prolific into the profoundly prized. Next up, now we arrive at the final coin, the 1982 United States Abraham Lincoln wheat 1 cent with no mint mark and a large date. It's the early 1980s. Inflation is biting hard. Copper prices have skyrocketed to the point where it literally costs more than a cent to make a cent out of the old 95% copper alloy. The U.S. Mint faces a tough call: keep losing money on every penny or innovate. They decide to pivot mid-year to a lighter, cheaper planchet. Mostly zinc with a thin copper plating to keep that familiar reddish look. This switch creates chaos in the best way for collectors. 7 official varieties flood the market as both old copper and new zinc planchets get struck with both large and small date dies at Philadelphia and Denver. No more straightforward mintages. It's a numismatic puzzle that keeps experts debating to this day. The coin we're spotlighting today is the 1982 Lincoln cent from Philadelphia. That's the no mint mark version, meaning it came straight from the main mint without the tiny P that started appearing later. On the obverse, you get Victor David Brenner's enduring portrait of Abraham Lincoln facing right, with "In God We Trust" arched overhead, liberty to the left, and that all-important 1982 date punched to the right. The reverse shows the Lincoln Memorial in all its columned glory, United States of America above, 1 cent below, and E pluribus unum tucked along the rim. Simple, iconic, instantly recognizable. But the magic happens in those subtle details that separate ordinary pocket change from six-figure treasures. Enter the large date variety. Look closely at the numerals in 1982. The large date punch gives bolder, thicker digits where the loops in the 8 are roughly equal in size top and bottom. The 9 sits level, and the overall date feels more filled out and prominent. Compare it side by side with a small date, which has slimmer figures, a more crooked 2 diagonal, and a slightly raised 8, and the difference jumps out under good light or magnification. For the Philadelphia no-mint examples, the large date almost always ties to the earlier copper composition. Those heavier 3.11 gram pieces that feel solid in your hand compared to the lighter 2.5 gram zinc ones that came later. Why does this combo, 1982 no-mint mark, large date, copper planchet, generate such frenzy? Because 1982 was a production monster. Billions upon billions of cents rolled out to keep vending machines, toll booths, and cash registers happy. Yet within that ocean of coins, the large date copper no-mint pieces represent the tail end of the old era before the zinc takeover fully kicked in. High-grade survivors with blazing original red luster minimal marks and that crisp large date punch are exceptionally tough to find pristine after 40-plus years of circulation, hoarding, and attrition. Add in the transitional drama, the mint experimenting, die swapping, planchets mixing, and you've got a recipe for collector obsession. Now for the numbers that make jaws drop. In recent high-stakes auctions at places like Heritage, Great Collections, and Stack's Bowers, elite examples of the 1982 Philadelphia large date, especially those copper pieces in MS67 red or better, with flawless surfaces and vivid original color, have pushed into seriously impressive territory. Top-tier specimens with standout eye appeal, strong strikes, and certified populations that stay low have realized around $75,000 when bidding wars erupt among registry set builders and investors chasing modern keys. These aren't everyday flips. They're conditioned rarities where provenance, grading pop reports, and market timing align perfectly to drive hammers sky high. Prices swing with collector enthusiasm, fresh slab populations, and broader economic vibes. So always cross-reference the latest realized sales on major platforms before making moves. What fuels this kind of demand? It's the perfect blend of accessibility and exclusivity. Anyone can hunt through change or old rolls for a 1982 large date no-mint piece. No need for deep pockets to start. But turning up a gem that grades at the absolute pinnacle is like winning the numismatic lottery. It ties into broader Lincoln cent history. From wheat ears honoring America's farms to the memorials celebrating national unity. Every era has its standouts, and 1982 delivers that thrill of discovery in our own lifetimes. Plus, the sheer volume of varieties keeps the community buzzing with forums, YouTube breakdowns, and club meetings dedicated to cracking the code. If this has you fired up to check your stash, here's your action plan. First, weigh it. Copper should hit right around 3.11 grams. Use a precise digital scale. Second, compare the date size against clear reference photos online from PCGS or NGC. Large date will look bolder and more uniform. Third, examine for original mint red color versus brown toning. Red pieces command the premiums. Fourth, if it looks promising, don't clean it, ever. and get it to a reputable grader like PeaceGS or NGC for authentication and slab protection. Deal only with trusted sources, established dealers, major auction houses, certified shows, or vetted online sellers with strong feedback. Join Lincoln Cent groups on social media or forums to stay current on trends, population reports, and new finds that could shift values. In the end, the 1982 Abraham Lincoln Cent with no mint mark and large date stands as a modern marvel. Proof that even coins from the late 20th century can deliver huge surprises and serious money for those who know what to look for. It's a bridge between classic wheat penny nostalgia and contemporary collecting excitement, reminding us that treasures aren't just buried in history books. Sometimes they're hiding in the last place you'd expect, your change drawer. If you've pulled standout 1982 or are chasing one for your set, smash that comment section with your story. I read every one. Like if this breakdown got your pulse racing. Subscribe for more insider looks at coins that could be worth way more than face value. And turn on notifications so you never miss the next potential windfall. Until next time, keep hunting smart, stay curious, and who knows, your next flip might just be legendary. Catch you soon.